Shut up and sit down.
Episode 41 of the No One Asked Us podcast. I am Craig Choate. That is Mr. Santa Claus, Logan Lee, over there again, rocking the Santa Claus hat. We're getting closer and closer to Logan's favorite holiday of the year. Be sure and follow us on all your social media channels at No One Asked Us Pod, at Craig W. Choate, at the Logan Lee on Twitter. No One Asked Us 2021 is our Gmail account if you have anything you want to talk to us about. We're on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, hit the thumbs up button, like it, subscribe, and that way you get all of the rest of our shows from here on out. It is Tuesday, November 16th in the evening. This is a Tuesday recording this week because busy Monday with Illinois basketball and a bunch of other stuff going on. So postponing our episode this week, probably the next couple weeks as well. We'll get these out to you on Wednesdays the next couple days. What's up, Logan? How's it going?
Hey man. Just a great Tuesday evening. Apologies to all you fans out there, the loyal listeners that have been used to the Tuesday pod drops. I already got one angry text message today from a loyal listener that just really needs his fix on Tuesdays, and unfortunately we weren't able to give it to him. So but yeah, they will be here. Pods are still coming. It'll just be on a different day for a little while. You can blame whoever made the Illinois basketball schedule this year, because that's you know what, I'll just say this. I did mention,
that's what I was going to say,
last night I asked Craig, do you want to record after this game? This was after the game. It had been a few minutes, and I believe I just sent a simple "want a pod?" LOL to Craig, and I got a simple no back. So for all you loyal listeners out there that wanted a Tuesday pod, there would have been an instant reaction to Illinois basketball on Monday night. You can blame Mr. Choate for that, because he gave me the NO. So red light. Sorry.
Hindsight probably should have, but I needed time to think about things and decompress, which we will talk about now. So yeah, we got our opening two segments coming up, 3 basketball games to talk about, 2 to preview coming up. So a couple other men's basketball notes that happened just today that we want to discuss, and then we'll get into football. Some big Illinois football news dropping today, and not good news for Illinois today. And then do our normal college football stuff, and maybe touch on quickly some baseball offseason stuff. But as we always do, we start with moment of the week. Logan, what do you got?
Well, you mentioned a funny word just a little bit ago, that you had to decompress after the game.
Okay.
How did you decompress after the game last night, Craig?
I threw some stuff.
Okay. I chose to listen to All Too Well by Taylor Swift, the 10-minute long version, about 4 times in a row. Moment of the week, Taylor Swift, baby, re-releasing her version of Red from the album that came out a few years ago, and the social media discourse surrounding All Too Well, the 10-minute long song that is theorized, has long been theorized to be about the one and only Jake Gyllenhaal. But yeah, man, Taylor had a week. She was on SNL. She was on like 2 or 3 late night shows, and she released, not only did she re-released the album, which of course she has been doing now. This is the 2nd or 3rd album she's re-released with the whole Scooter Braun thing. We don't have to get into that. But then she not only did that, but she also wrote and directed and starred in a music video / short film to go along with All Too Well, that also got released last week. That was a trip. That was certainly an emotional journey for a lot of mostly women in their late 20s to early 30s, but a few of us that were along for that ride as well. Hey, we're just happy to be here. It's Taylor's world. We're all just living in it. So absolutely, my moment of the week, Taylor Swift, man. She had another moment.
This might have been the episode to bring Luis Medina back on.
Yes.
Yes. I
Yeah.
also watched that just this morning. And the whole time from the beginning, I was like, man, I've seen that actress somewhere. Where do I know that actress from? And then at the very end, when I saw her name, and I didn't even know, like, the name didn't make me realize it, but like for some reason I saw the name, I was like, oh, that's Max from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched it. I'm just to say I did. Like, I don't understand the whole Jake Gyllenhaal thing. I had forgot that they were even a thing. They dated for like 5 months.
No,
she wrote a 10-minute song.
2 months.
It was
2
like
months.
Oh my gosh. But I did watch, and I think it's kind of cool what she's doing with her albums to kind of get it, to take ownership of it back from Scooter. So yeah, that's good.
For what it's worth, I will just throw out there, just to fill you in a little bit on the discourse. I do believe the scarf is technically a metaphor for something else that she might have given him, or that he might have taken from her, if you know what I mean. I don't know that for sure, obviously. That's
I see what
some
you're
of
saying.
The theorizing is that the scarf is a metaphor for something else. I want to know, if the scarf isn't a metaphor, who has the scarf? Does Jake Gyllenhaal have the scarf? Does Maggie Gyllenhaal have the scarf? Because apparently it was at Maggie's house that she left it at, or he left it at, whatever. These are the things that I need to know. So whatever, move on. What's your moment of the week? Something not nearly as exciting as Taylor Swift, I'm sure.
I stuck with sports, and
boring.
Kansas football going in and beating Texas. Their first road Big 12 win since 2008, and you knock off Texas.
Remember when they almost beat Oklahoma earlier this year?
Oh yeah. I mean, the head coach Lance Leipold was a hot name for the Illinois opening, and Illinois decided not to go with him. He stayed at Buffalo, and then a couple months later, after Les Miles was fired, he goes to Kansas, and man, what a win for them. And it got worse for Texas that night, because then they got boat raced at Gonzaga in basketball. Score not indicative of how that game was. It was like a 25-point game the whole time. So did you see the video of the Kansas kids' parents?
No.
So Kansas scored. Did they go? Yeah, went to overtime. Yeah, went to overtime. Texas scored first. Then Kansas scored, and instead of kicking the field goal, they decided to go for 2 in the first overtime and get it over with. Excuse me. Quarterback escaped the pocket. He about got sacked, and then he threw it to the end zone, and kid caught it. Game over. In the other end zone, 120 yards away, were Kansas fans, and the kids' parents that caught the ball were recording. And they're like, "Oh, we won." And you hear the dad just go, "Wait, is that our son? Is that our son? Oh my God, that's our son. He caught it." And it was just awesome.
I did not see this.
He came running all the way down the field and was pointing at him, like flexing. It was so cool. It was a great reaction video. It's all over ESPN's if you can find it.
I need to go back and find that, because that sounds awesome. I don't know how I missed it. So
yeah, it was cool. It was good. All right. Also going to our question of the week, recapping last week, Logan came up with last week's. When do you get into the Christmas spirit is what we settled on. Consensus, more than 50%, 66% actually, say the day after Thanksgiving.
To be expected, I think.
November 1st got 19.1%, December 1st, 12.8%, and I'm always in the Christmas spirit, got 2.1%, and I think that one vote was probably the Logan Lee.
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
So seems the majority of us, the day after Thanksgiving is when we go full on Christmas, which I would agree with. I will say that there are some Christmas aspects that hit me before that, but after the day after Thanksgiving, I'm full on. It's time for Christmas. This week,
fair, that's when I go full on into it as well. But that does not mean that I've already started watching Christmas movies, or
that's what I was gonna say. You were watching Christmas
or,
movies.
I was
a
watching
week
the
ago.
Santa Claus like 3 nights ago. So yeah, like I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. All right. This week we were moving away from the holidays, away from sports. Random question that just popped in my head. We took about 30 minutes before the show trying to think of a question. And I don't know where this came from, but I've always wanted to know, what is the best flavor of Starburst? Red, pink, orange, or yellow?
I love
so we're
it.
going to throw that out there. See what the people think. I have an idea of where this is going to go, but we'll see.
You might be
We'll
surprised.
see how it lands. Yeah.
There's some differentiating opinions on Starburst for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you might be surprised.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's jump into it. Illinois basketball. They played 3 games in the span of 7 days. 2 of them they played well. 1 of them they did not. They kicked off the season Tuesday, a week ago tonight, last Tuesday, with a win at home over Jackson State, 71-47. Then they hosted Arkansas State on Friday, looked even better. A game last week that I said I was more worried about than Jackson State, and they came out and dominated 92-53. Andre Curbelo, Trent Frazier, and Austin Hutcherson did not play against Jackson State. Curbelo and Frazier were back for Arkansas State, and they also played Monday night, last night, against Marquette, in which Illinois lost 67-66 on the road at Marquette.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something that I didn't really think a whole lot about until the game started. This was the first true road game for Coleman Hawkins, for Andre Curbelo, of course, for the freshman. But for a lot of these guys, they had never gone on the road with the Rhodes fans yelling at them and causing havoc and all that stuff. So that was a wrinkle that I had not thought about. And speaking of havoc, I just said the buzzword for Marquette now, because Shaka Smart is their head coach. He brought that havoc defense back, that full court press after made baskets and free throws, and it led to 26. Is that right?
I think so. 26 turnovers.
26 turnovers. 26. Last week, SIU had 23 in their season opener, and I tweeted, I'm not even mad. That's impressive that you can turn the ball over that many times. And Illinois did worse than that. Andre Curbelo, worst game of his Illini career, 4 of 18 from the field, 11 points, 4 fouls, 7 turnovers, 8 rebounds, but 7 turnovers for Curbelo. He's the guy that has the ball in his hands the most, and he cost Illinois the game. Straight up, he lost Illinois that game. And I think that's what I had time to think about it last night, obviously, and it took me about 15 minutes to be like, all right, whatever, it's one game. But the thing that worries me the most is Andre Curbelo's response to him not playing well. Everyone in the building, everyone watching, knew that he was not playing well, yet he continued to try to hit the home run. It's not working, dude. You got to adjust, and he didn't do it, and that scares me. What say you?
I certainly have some thoughts on the matter. There was a little part of me, and we talked about this. I didn't really express this concern. There's been a part of me for a little while that's been a little concerned that all the preseason accolades might go to his head.
Yep.
And you could just tell, not even at the end of the game, I'm talking like early in the game. I sent you the text message. He was trying to be the guy. He was trying to be Io, and he's not. It's well documented that Io was off to the NBA, and that this team it does not have that closer. They do not have somebody that has that ability. This team has some shooters. It has, obviously, when he's on the court, and he wasn't last night, but they do have one of the best interior post players in the country, but they don't really have a great scorer. However, I do think there were 2 scorers on the court better than what Andre Curbelo is, and he failed to ever attempt to even get them the ball. Yeah, Jake Grandison and Trent Frazier. Trent, who almost hit 30 points last night, failed to touch the ball. in the last however many possessions, because Curbelo would just dribble down the floor, try to do everything himself, dribble into 4 guys, and then turn it over. Like, I'm not saying that Andre Curbelo isn't talented, because he certainly is. He's clear. I mean, last night was not an indication of this, but I do believe he is one of the best point guards in college basketball.
Yeah.
But he was not that last night. He needs to learn what his role actually is. He's not a jump shooter. He can't make a jump shot to save his life right now. And that's not what he is. He needs to be a facilitator. Not having Kofi was obviously an issue. And I do believe that had Kofi been on the court, it would have been a different outcome.
100%.
But that doesn't take anything away from what Curbelo did. He tried to do way too much. He tried to be the guy, and he's not that type of player. He can certainly turn into that. But as for right now, you need to rely on Trent Frazier and Jake Grandison to be your scorers. I mean, if they can't do it, then that's another problem for another day. But like, you have to be able to get those two the ball. Like, the ball has to go through their hands in those last possessions. They have to get shots. Trent Frazier, as I said, almost hit 30 points last night, and he hardly touched the ball at the end. So that was my biggest thing with Curbelo, is and it wasn't even at the very end. He was doing it the entire game. He was trying to be the guy. I made the Javi Baez comparison last year, and last night was, you got the 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts out of Javi Baez. And that's what you're going to get. He is that type of player. He's an all or nothing. He needs to be more consistent. I mean, he is going to have to be the All-American point guard on this team, but that doesn't mean he has to be the guy in crunch time that has to do everything. There are other players on this team that can do things. There are other people around him. That's the nice thing about having a DeMonte Williams or potentially an Alfonso Plummer on top of Grandison and Frazier, is that you have shooters. You have people that can score. And he just has to be able to facilitate that. And last night, he just didn't. He just simply refused to do it.
Yeah, I saw something early too that I didn't necessarily like, but I didn't think too much of it, but it did cross my mind. It made me believe that the awards have got to his head, because the way he carries himself and talks to the refs. Have you noticed that? Like, he'll say something, he'll just be like, I mean, I'm just saying, like that's not how it should be, like whatever. And I forgot what the specific call was, but something was called against him, and he was like trying to make a hubbub about it. I'm like, dude, you're not Allen Iverson. Like, you're a sophomore that has some preseason awards and won some stuff last year, but like, you're a nobody. You're not who you think you are yet. Like, you need to chill. And I said it last night in text and on Twitter. The way he was playing, I was upset that he was on the court the last 2 minutes. And now also,
you can't. Who else replace him with?
Who else are you going to put in? Exactly. Who else are you going to throw in? He has to
be on the court.
So he had to be out there. He's just got to be smarter.
Somebody has to tell him that that's not what his role was. I don't know where the coaching was in that. I don't know where Trent was. I'm not saying it's Trent's role necessarily to demand the ball. I don't think that Trent is that type of personality, but like, somebody has to do something, because it was possession after possession after possession that all he did was dribble down the floor and get into a mosh pit of 4 Marquette players and then loses the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was super frustrating. That was certainly a game they should have won. They led for most of that game. Trent kept them in that game.
Yes.
And then at the end, it just, a lot of factors.
I blame the NCAA. 2-game suspension for Kofi, which was more likely. But they decided to go 3, and they cost Illinois a game. That's what I'm boiling it down to.
That's fair.
You did mention Trent. He did have a costly mistake as well that should not go unnoticed.
At the very end?
At the very end. Illinois was up by 1. Marquette had the ball down 1. They went down and missed a shot with less than 30 seconds left, I think.
What was the point there, they thought they were going to foul, so they wanted it in Trent's hands.
Yes.
Is that why he had the ball there?
Yes. Because
I
remember
wanted
it.
the ball to be in his hand, that was not the situation that I had in mind.
The
But
game clock was 3 seconds behind the shot clock, and Marquette just let Illinois dribble down. I was like, oh my, they have to foul. Why aren't they fouling? They have to foul. And I think Grandison or someone passed it to Trent. And
Trent had it. Trent,
whatever it was,
ball,
Trent
he
had the ball
across the line.
And I remember saying out loud, do not let the ball leave your hands. And as that sentence came out of my mouth, I saw the Marquette player coming across court, and I was like I could see it happening. And it happened. He got the steal. He stole it from Trent, and there was like 12 seconds left or something like that. And I had a blanket on, and I picked the blanket up and just threw it on the ground. And next thing I knew, I guess the final possession happened and didn't even get a shot off. So Trent's got to be more self-aware there. He was like backing his defender down to the right, and he turned left right at the exact moment that the Marquette guy came. Yeah. Did you see the video today, though? Slowed down. Dude kicked it out of his hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It directly went off his foot, and could argue that it was a kick, but in the moment, that's a tough call to make. So I'm not blaming the refs in any way. But Trent did have 23, 6 of 10 from behind the arc. Curbelo had 11, Grandison 10, Coleman Hawkins had 13. I thought Omar Payne played pretty well, played his role well, 7 points, 5 rebounds, played some good defense for Illinois, which I think is what his role is. But yeah, now Kofi is back, which makes a huge difference. And they're going to need him because Monday they play Cincinnati. Both these games are in Kansas City. Monday they play Cincinnati, who I think is similar to Marquette and KenPom. But you need to beat Cincinnati, and then you'll get Arkansas, who's a top 25 team in the country. So 2 high major games coming up again this week. I mean, worst case scenario has to be a 1-1 week. You can't go 0-2. You can't go 0-2 next week. You got to get one of the two, and hopefully 2 of the 2 now that you've got Kofi back. So is that kind of where you're standing as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think that this is, we've talked about it before. I don't think this is a particularly tough non-conference schedule, but
we talked about them going undefeated.
Right. I also expected them to be able to handle Marquette without a problem. So hopefully that first game on the road, because as you said, that is a factor. And you mentioned it at the top. I mean, Curbelo and Coleman Hawkins had never really played at the college level, had not played in front of a crowd like that, because it's obviously the situation last year. So, and what year is Omar Payne? Did he play one season or 2 seasons at Florida? Okay,
played 2 at Florida.
I was thinking he might have been in
last
that
year
same
was
boat
free.
too.
So
right, yeah, but I was thinking he might have been in that same boat. So he did have 2 seasons. So, but either way, I would have expected them to win this game. So it's hard for me to say, oh, they're just going to go 2-0. But I would expect them to go 2-0. But a 1-1 wouldn't be the end of the world. But I would rather not run into that situation, if you want to know my opinion.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm reading Twitter to see if anything's happened.
Like lately. The Spider-Man trailer?
No, hasn't come out yet. All right. So yeah, Monday night, 6:30 on ESPN News is what the ESPN schedule has, which I don't know that I get. I might have to stream this one. That's against Cincinnati. Then the next night, the 23rd, would be against Arkansas or Kansas State, and time would depend on what happens on Monday night. So a couple more games for Illinois. Hopefully bounce back, get some wins, and finally see Kofi out there doing his thing. Other men's basketball news that just dropped this afternoon. The MVC is losing a member. Earlier this year, they gained a great member in Belmont to beef up the MVC. Well, now the top dog in that conference is bolting for the Atlantic 10, the Loyola Chicago Ramblers, starting next season, 2022-2023 season, are heading to the Atlantic 10. That's a big loss for the MVC, no?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I think that there was a lot of people when that. It's funny though, because 10 years ago, I think that a lot of people weren't in love with Loyola, because Loyola wasn't exactly a cream of the crop program.
Me, one of them.
I think because the idea was you're replacing Wichita State or Creighton, whoever it was at the time.
Wichita.
And you're thinking that's who you're going to replace them with is Loyola.
Maybe
I think that was Creighton.
That was Creighton. Valpo
was Wichita. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But they turned out to be the mid-major team of the last 10 years. So,
yeah.
And we know plenty about that. So, I mean, good for Loyola, I guess. It's, I don't know if it's necessarily a better fit for them. Conference realignment continues to shake everything up, and the Valley is certainly not omitted from that. Would not shock me if there's another exodus. I think Missouri State their name keeps getting brought up as a possibility to leave too. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen here. I think Murray State needs to get added at some point. They need to add Murray State, and then they need to add a bigger market somewhere. I've read, Arlington, which UT Arlington doesn't really excite anybody, but it is Dallas. So that would be a different market for them. Although Dallas Baptist was in the Valley for baseball. Right? Are they still in the Valley for baseball?
I believe so. I'm not sure. Yeah, the Matt Norlander story says that Missouri Valley has been in deep discussions with Murray State, UT Arlington, and Kansas City, which I hadn't thought of, but I kind of like. It's a new city, not too far away. And they beat Missouri last night. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Kansas City beat Missouri last night. So that also made Illini Nation feel a little bit better, I think. I threw out schools immediately when I saw it. I don't know if you saw my tweet. One of them is one that I mentioned when they added Belmont. I think Milwaukee's a great fit.
Yeah.
I think Milwaukee's a great fit. I could see that happening
too.
So I said Milwaukee. I said Murray State. I think they're the perfect fit as well. And I said, why not get UIC to replace Loyola? I looked up the last 5-10 years prior to Loyola joining the Missouri Valley from the Horizon. It's very similar to what UIC is going through right now. They have 15 to 18 wins a year. I mean, it's Chicago. If that's what you're going for, I mean, it kind of makes sense. But none of those have been mentioned except for Murray. I think Milwaukee and Murray are just perfect, but we'll see what happens. A couple other notes. Norlander. This is all.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is all Matt Norlander saying that the Atlantic 10 did not add Loyola because they're expecting someone to leave. There's been a lot of talk of the Big East taking some of these Atlantic 10 teams, St. Louis specifically. I've heard a lot of chatter of St. Louis going to the Big East, VCU or Richmond or something like that. They said that that's not happening as of now, which I'm kind of surprised. I think SLU is actually a pretty good fit for the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is only the beginning. And it's probably not going to stop for a long time. Conferences are always going to be shifting. What were we going to say?
No, nothing. Keep moving.
All right. The only other college basketball thing was concerning Duke. Did you see what was going on there today?
I did. Yeah, I saw that this morning.
Their superstar freshman, and let me look this up so I get this right. Paulo Banchero, who looked incredible in the Champions Classic. Did you watch the Champions Classic?
No, but I have seen them play a little bit, and we can talk about that here in a little bit. That was something I was going to say regarding Illinois, but he's looked good. He's looked good.
Remember
what you said about freshmen shouldn't be All-Americans?
I stand by it. If you can give him all the season honors you want.
Him and Holmgren are two of the best 5 players in the country.
Holmgren didn't impress me Saturday night. But
it doesn't matter.
Anyways, Paulo Banchero and Michael Savarino, who is Coach Krzyzewski's
grandson,
are facing charges of DWI. Savarino was arrested, I believe, and Banchero was charged with aiding and abetting. That's a sticky situation there for the Dukies.
Very sticky situation. If anybody for that to happen on the team, for it to be their best player and the coach's grandson, Like that's
Here we go. This is the tweet I was looking for. Duke's Paolo Banchero
something.
has been charged with aiding and abetting DWI. Teammate Michael Savarino, Mike Krzyzewski's grandson, was arrested and charged with DWI. So that's basically what I said, but I just wanted to get the wording correct. So yeah, there's got to be some punishment coming down for them. Although Marq Few only had a 1-game suspension for his DUI in the offseason. So we'll see what happens, but it's something to watch with Duke going forward.
They have they play tonight against Gardner Webb, and then they have 2 games later one game later this week, 1 game early next week. Then next Friday they play Gonzaga.
Oh,
so we'll see if how long the suspensions are.
Banchero is great, but I love Trevor Keels. Number 1 for Duke. I love his game. He's like a mix of Zion and like Kyrie. He's like built big like Zion, wears number 1, but he's a guard and he can handle the ball. I love his game. All right. Anything else basketball?
No. You did kind of glance over the Big Ten Plus
my God.
that I know you wanted to vent about, but that was before,
last night. Yeah.
Meltdown. So obviously more important things have happened, but the Big Ten Plus shenanigans on Friday night, that was certainly something. And we have to do it again here in a few weeks. So granted, I don't know if I'll even watch that game because I might be traveling, or that's the Friday after Thanksgiving. So I don't even know where I will be. But that was not an ideal situation. The whole production was not good.
Yeah, I mean, the stream went out. The stream just dropped for everyone. 10 minutes into the game, it was out for like 10 minutes. There was just nothing there. I mean, that's what you get with Plus, because a lot of times it's students. And they're getting experience, and I understand that. But you can do that for, and no disrespect to women's basketball or volleyball or any, you can do that for those sports. But when you have millions of people watching, or thousands of people watching,
they were 11
program
at the time. On a Friday night, and you can't find. I mean, I looked around. Every other network had another live, either football or basketball game going on. So it's not like there was a lot of free open space, but I still have to think you could find a better place for them than that. But whatever. That was a mess.
Either Kentucky or SEC Network announced today that 2 of Kentucky's games coming up will not be on TV, and they will be online only on ESPN Plus.
Yikes.
And everyone's like, "Oh, I can't wait for those 2 nights."
That's just the thing they're doing. They're just trying to shift people to subscribe to the services. So whatever.
All right, let's move to football. Big news for Illini. Bret Bielema has tested positive for COVID. He will not coach this weekend at Iowa City. He said he started feeling some symptoms Monday afternoon, went and got tested, and Monday night came back positive. So George McDonald is going to act as head coach on Saturday. I thought it was interesting because they have their weekly Monday presser, and Illinois moved it. It has been in person all season long. They moved it back to virtual yesterday. And Bielema said, there's a little bit of an outbreak going on around campus. So we're doing most of our stuff virtual this week just to be safe and all that stuff. And then the next day, he tests positive. So that could be a challenge for Illinois this weekend. They're already kind of behind the 8 ball facing a ranked Iowa team, but they're going to be without their head coach. And let's hope that that's it. But I haven't heard anything.
Did he say? Did he say because he did release a statement, or did he talk to anybody? Did he say how he was feeling at this point?
I did not read the entire statement.
I did see where he said he was vaccinated and had the booster. So, hopefully things are, mild, I guess, at this point. And it's not any worse than that. So, thinking of him, obviously, and everybody else that might be affected by it. But from a football standpoint, it's less than ideal.
Here, I got the Bielema statement when you're ready.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a lengthy one. After developing mild symptoms yesterday, I tested, and unfortunately late Monday night tested positive for a breakthrough case of COVID-19. I'm disappointed that I will not be with our team this week when we travel to Iowa, but I'm grateful that I am vaccinated and received the booster shot last week. So he received the booster last week, but isn't there like that 14-day period before? I don't see anything here saying how he feels. But he does say that he had mild symptoms. So there was something there.
Right.
But yeah, kind of behind the eight ball there for Illinois. We'll see what happens. But the other bit of news that came out this weekend, I think it came out, was it Saturday or Sunday? Ryan Walters got an extension.
Oh yeah.
Got a 1-year extension.
That's big.
That's huge. And what makes it big, a couple things. He's bound for a head coaching job. The way that he's performed this year with his team. And a lot of people thought that he was head coach material when Illinois got him as a defensive coordinator. But the big part is what the compensation is. This is directly from the release from Illinois Athletics. Walter's contract will move his compensation to third in the Big Ten. This is assistants in the Big Ten, not head coaches. Third in the Big Ten, and then into the top 10 nationally among defensive coordinators. That's incredible for Illinois to be like, hey, we're not messing around. We are keeping our guys. We are sticking to our guns. Do you think Whitman learned anything from the basketball fiasco?
Yeah.
Or do you think this is just him? You know, he's a football guy and he wants the football.
I mean, I think
he really wants the football program to do well.
I certainly think it's both. I think he knows what he has, and I'm sure him and Bielema have had these conversations, and they know how important he is, and they just want to keep him locked in as long as they can, because they know it's inevitable. He's going to leave. He's going to take another position. He's going to be a head coach, and they just want to make sure that they have him for however long they can keep him around for, because he is obviously one of the best young people in that role, and that's what his future is. So good for him.
So it keeps him here through 2024, I believe. I think that's right. Yes. And it ups his compensation salary to $1,050,000 for the 2022 season, with $100,000 raises in each of the 2 seasons that follow. Also eligible for some bonuses and all that kind of stuff. For performance, his contract includes $1 million buyout for any non-head coaching position in the Big Ten, and a $750,000 buyout for any non-head coaching position outside the Big Ten. So Ryan Walters sticking around. I saw a lot of players tweeting about it and assistant coaches tweeting about it, that they're really excited. So good news and bad news for the Illini on the coaching front this week. Also a game coming off a bye week, so nothing to talk about there, but a game at Iowa City coming up. Kind of sucks for Bielema because, he played there. He's got the Hawkeye tattoo on his leg. So he's not going to be able to go back to Iowa City. He downplayed it on Monday in his press conference, saying that that's not what this game's about. Same thing he did with Wisconsin. But what are your expectations? I think Iowa's beatable. We'll see how much the Bielema not being there impacts things, but Iowa's definitely beatable.
Iowa's definitely beatable. I'm not anticipating Illinois beats them, but Iowa is definitely beatable. We've seen that already. They're not, they're the top 5 team that they started out to be at the start of the season. And Illinois proved to be a little bit better than I think people were expecting. So again, not anticipating a win, especially with everything going on with Bielema, but I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's certainly winnable.
Iowa City is a place that notoriously Illinois has not played great. There has been one year here or there that they'll compete. My first road trip when I was in TV at Champaign was to Iowa City. Actually, I'm looking at the credential right now in my closet. 2015 at Iowa City, and they hung with them there. I think they lost by 7 or 9, got away a little late, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Did you see the tweet going around that the Big Ten likely won't have enough bowl eligible teams? So there's potential that a 5-7 team might get in, because
really,
I believe, what I researched a little bit after I saw it, the Big Ten has 9 bowl tie-ins this year. So that doesn't include the college football playoff. So if a Big Ten team makes the college football playoff, everyone bumps up 1. So you need 10 teams, and it doesn't look like that amount are going to get to 6 wins. So the tweet said, and it was I don't know how reliable the Twitter account is. I don't think it's very reliable, but I did do some research, and I think only 9 teams are going to get to 6 wins, which it would then go to like APR or some kind of academic standard, and Illinois would be the highest rated academic school of the 5 wins. So
interesting.
I'm not holding my breath because every year I'm like, there's too many bowls. There's going to be 5 and 7 teams get in, and then they don't. So not hold my breath, but someone did put out there that it could happen, and I guess every year it potentially could. But so Illinois, 4 and 6, if they win the last 2, they don't have to worry about that, and they get in the bowl games, which I think they could. Big Ten scores this week. Rutgers just annihilated Indiana, 38-3 in Bloomington. Wisconsin, similar, 35-7 over Northwestern. Michigan State played well, 40-21 over Maryland. Ohio State put up 59 on Purdue, 59-31. Iowa, who we just touched on, hung on to beat Minnesota 27-22. I watched the end of that. Minnesota was a disaster at the end of that game. And then Michigan beat Penn State by 4, 21-17. The standings, Ohio State alone at the top of the East, 7-0. Michigan State and Michigan both 6-1. And then the other 4 are below 500. Penn State 3-4, Maryland 2-5, Rutgers 2-5, Indiana still winless at 0-7. Wisconsin and Iowa tied at the top of the West at 5-2. Minnesota and Purdue are 4-3. Illinois is 3-4, and Nebraska is 1-6, along with Northwestern. If you had to say today, who's going to win each
division?
Yeah.
Ohio State and Wisconsin.
Yeah. I think you're right. Who does Wisconsin play? Wisconsin has Nebraska this week. And I want to say
I didn't do that math.
I looked at it and now I forgot.
I have
Minnesota. I knew it was Minnesota or Iowa. It's Minnesota.
Nebraska and Minnesota.
So a couple easy ones. Iowa has Nebraska and Illinois, so they could also go 7-2. And then it would go to a tiebreaker. No,
I believe it's head to head with
which is head to head.
Wisconsin beat them, right?
Wisconsin beat Iowa by 20. Yeah. So I think it's going to be Wisconsin, which, holy cow, what a turnaround. Power rankings. This is going to be quick because I think we both talked and neither of us made too many changes. You want to get started?
Yeah. Yep. I didn't make any changes at the bottom. Do you want me to just do the whole thing, or how do you want to do this? Because I don't know where your changes are.
Go up to your changes from 14 up to where your change is.
All right. So starting at the bottom, Indiana 14, Rutgers 13, Northwestern 12, Nebraska 11, Illinois stays at 10, Maryland 9, Minnesota 8, Purdue 7, and Iowa 6. I did not change anything from 6 down. My only changes are I swapped 4 and 5.
Okay, so you didn't make any changes at the top last week. Your top 6 stayed the same last week, so now you're switching it. And they're
I switched 2 of them. That's it.
Okay, I switched 2 as well, but they're the bottom 2. I put Indiana at 14 and Northwestern at 13.
And I had that. I had that last week.
Yeah, you moved Indiana down to 14 last week,
and then I switched 2 that you switched last week that I didn't switch last week, and I switched Wisconsin and Penn State, who I had reversed last week. So my top is Ohio State, Michigan State, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Penn State, 1 through 5.
Okay. Yep. I got the
so
same
are
5.
we exactly the same now?
No.
What's different now?
You've got Rutgers at 13, which I'm surprised because they just took it to Indiana.
Well, they also lost to Northwestern like 3 weeks ago.
That's true.
That's why. I mean, that's kind of my reasoning, but
I've got Indiana 14 now, Northwestern 13, Nebraska 12, Rutgers 11, 10, Illinois 9, Maryland, then Minnesota, Purdue, Iowa, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State.
You and the committee. I don't understand the reasoning behind this.
Michigan State behind Michigan.
Why do you have Michigan over Michigan State? Michigan State beat Michigan 3 weeks ago. Why? I mean, I'm not just asking you directly. I'm not, like, the committee is going to do the same stuff too, and they do it every week. And I don't understand. I get that. Yes, more recently that Michigan State did lose a game to Purdue more recently.
Yeah,
but the week before that, they beat Michigan. So I don't understand that. I'm not saying that that's necessarily like how it has to be, but
Michigan's loss is better than Michigan State's loss. Is that a thing?
But they beat them head to head. They that would make sense if they didn't play head to head, but they played head to head. So that theory doesn't really apply to me. Like, that doesn't make sense. If they don't play head to head, then sure. Yeah. You can go by that. That's going to be the same thing. I'm just waiting for it. I am waiting for that thing to come out tonight and Notre Dame being higher than Cincinnati. And that's going to piss a lot of people off. Yeah. And it's Cincinnati beat Notre Dame. If it doesn't matter, if what happens on the field doesn't matter, then why are we playing the games? Like, that's what I don't understand about this whole thing. Anyway, I didn't mean to get into that rant yet. I guess that could just lead into this whole college football playoff.
I was gonna say, do we just record until 7:00 and watch the rankings come out live and get live reaction here?
May as well.
But yes, college football playoff. Logan's been keeping up with it and got his tiers and who's alive. Did anyone miss their opportunity last week?
I didn't drop anybody out. Oklahoma did lose, but I think they're still technically in the mix. Basically, I think there are 12 teams that are still alive, although one of those 12 is UTSA, who obviously doesn't really have a chance. I think there are 5 teams, if my math is right, that pretty much control their own destiny. I think that's kind of how I'm breaking this up at this point. I think it's Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, and Michigan State, just based on what they have ahead, control their own destiny. And then you have Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Michigan, and then the 2 Big 12 teams, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, who will probably play each other twice at the end of the season. And then Wake Forest is still technically in the mix too, although I just don't see any realistic scenario that they get in. Georgia has an easy road at this point. They only have, I did some of this stuff too. They only have Charleston Southern and Georgia Tech left before the SEC championship. Alabama, on the other hand, has Arkansas and then Auburn, and then the potential SEC championship game. Oregon has potentially Utah twice. I think they're better than Utah, but that's not necessarily going to be easy road for them. Ohio State has Michigan State, then they go to Michigan, and then they'll play against, if they beat both of those, they'll potentially play Iowa or Wisconsin. So they don't exactly have an easy road either. Yeah. And then you have Cincinnati and Notre Dame that are just kind of hanging around there. And I don't know, Notre Dame has made a name, but they don't really have much on their schedule. They didn't really play anybody this year. Their only marquee matchup they lost, and that was Cincinnati. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I have it at now. 12 teams technically still alive. I think realistically, 10 of them are probably still in the picture. I think it's obviously less and less likely as you go down the list. But I think there's still about 10 teams that really can still make a splash potentially to get into the playoff.
I've been saying it for weeks. I still think Cincinnati gets in.
I'm not saying they don't. I would not, as I said, I would not be shocked if you see this next poll and Notre Dame's ahead of them. I just wouldn't, which doesn't make sense to me. What does it matter? The committee seems to not care.
Notre Dame beat Virginia and Cincinnati beat South Florida by like 19, right?
I'm just saying, I will not be shocked. Sure. I mean, I get it. I think Cincinnati certainly still does have a shot at it, but they don't control their own destiny and they are not a name brand. So the people that are going to be in charge of this are going to choose this is the question I was going to ask. So let's just say Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State went out. Okay. That's 3 or 4 spots.
They're in. Yeah.
Okay. They're in. So at that point, Alabama's out because they now have 2 losses. They will have lost to Georgia. let's say in theory, Cincinnati wins out. They go 3-0, which would include beating Houston in the American title game. Notre Dame wins out. They only have Georgia Tech and Stanford left. In this situation, Michigan would be out. And then obviously you either have Oklahoma State or Oklahoma. Who would be your fourth? An undefeated Cincinnati?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I would say too. Would the committee rather have Notre Dame or Oklahoma in that?
At that point, it comes down to
who they want in the play, who they want.
No,
and that's why it's an invitational. That's what it'll be.
I would say
it's not that I want it.
In that situation where it's Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and either Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, which I don't think it'll be because I think both of them are going to lose again. So it comes down to Cincinnati and Notre Dame. In that situation, Cincinnati beat Notre Dame. You have to give it to Cincinnati.
I would agree.
And that's what I think is going to happen.
But they've also been putting Michigan over Michigan State in their rankings, which tells me that they don't necessarily, and that game was more recent than what Cincinnati and Notre Dame was. So if they go by that, rationalization, then I don't think that that's how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And whatever, I agree. I think because Oklahoma and Oklahoma State will play each other once in the regular season and then again in the title game. I think it's probably more likely that they split those games potentially and one of them are out. So,
and Oklahoma has Iowa State this week.
Yeah.
That's not a easy game either. So,
yeah.
All right. Speaking of, we'll get to our picks. We tied last week. We both went 10-1. Logan went 10-2. Sorry, 10-2. Logan went 5-1, both in the Big Ten and nationally. I was an unblemished 6-0 in the Big Ten, 4-2 nationally. So Logan keeps his 5-game lead over me. He's got 111 correct picks. I've got 106 correct picks on the season. Get right into it. Our national games. I did not look up SIU's ranking real quick. They are at home, coming off of a big win at Indiana State, at home for Senior Day, back in the win column. SIU dropped 2 spots after the win. They are now 17. They host Youngstown State for Senior Day. You got the Salukis or the Penguins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite as confident in Southern at this point as I was earlier, but I don't think they should have any issues with Youngstown State.
No.
So I'm going to take the Salukis at home on homecoming. You say it's homecoming or senior?
No, just Senior Day.
Senior Day. That makes sense,
last home game of the regular season.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. They already had homecoming.
Yeah, a win for the Dogs would give them a 8-3 record that clinches a playoff spot. 8 wins unofficially clinches a playoff spot in the FCS. I think they get it. Youngstown's 2-7, not very good. So I think they get it, and hopefully that's good enough to get them a home game in the FCS playoffs. And we know the FCS playoff committee caters to the Missouri Valley. So if they impress, they could jump into the top 8 seeds, but I don't see it happening. Talked a lot about Cincinnati. We're going to pick their game this week. Haven't picked their game in a long time. SMU 8-2 goes to Cincinnati, 10-0, 3:30 on ESPN. It's a test. It's Mustangs or Bearcats.
Yeah, it certainly is. And they're going to have, as I said, they're potentially going to have Houston up too. So they have, their road's not easy to get to that undefeated season, but I want to see it happen, and I'm going to pick them to win this.
Yeah.
I think that they're certainly the better team. It is at home. I will take Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cincinnati as well. They have some things they need to figure out. They have not been playing well. They are not as well oiled in the AAC as we thought they were. They're an 11.5 point favorite on Saturday. But they need a game that they can flex on people. I don't know that it's this week. It needs to be this week, but I do think they win this one at home. Heading to the ACC, we touched on Wake Forest a little bit. They are on the road at Clemson, who's owned that conference for the last decade. They're kind of down now. They're 7-3. Can Wake go into Death Valley and knock off who has been on top of the mountain for so long?
Yeah, Wake is. I mean, they're still hanging around the playoff discussion. As I said, I had them at the bottom of the list, and I just don't see a realistic scenario in which they would get in. But if they win the ACC with only one loss, they're certainly going to be in the mix. I think they go to Clemson and win. I think that they're the better team this year. They're going to keep, showing that they belong in those conversations, and I think they do win at Clemson.
Yeah. They're underdogs, actually. Clemson's a 4-point favorite in this game. I watched the Clemson-Louisville game a couple of weeks ago. Louisville should have won that one. Their quarterback went out in the fourth quarter, and they gained like 3 yards total on the 4 drives that he missed. I think Clemson's quarterback is hurt, Uiagalelei, but I'm going to take Clemson at home just to give us some differing picks here, trying to catch you. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna roll with Dabo. I still think Dabo would be smart to leave Clemson for the LSU job, but I don't know that that's going to happen. Give me the Tigers. In the Big 12, Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. Did you see the Texas Tech game last week?
Who did they play?
Iowa State.
No.
62-yard field goal at the buzzer for the win in a college game.
Yikes. Okay.
They fired their coach earlier this year and have an interim. They've already made their hire for next year that people seem to be really excited about. But can they pull an upset on the Pokes?
I'm going to go with the Pokes. Take Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I am too. I just kind of threw that in there to see if you saw the game-winning field goal.
No, that's fair.
To give us some differing. Give me Oklahoma State. A ranked game in the Pac-12. Haven't had many of those lately. Oregon travels to Utah. Logan just mentioned that these two teams could play multiple times here in the next couple of weeks. Who wins round 1? 7:30 on ABC.
Part of me wants to take Utah, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take Oregon.
Yeah, the line's close. Utah is actually favored by 3 at home. I don't know what Vegas knows. But we are both taking Oregon. I like Oregon to make the playoff. So we'll take the Ducks here. In the SEC, Arkansas, they were a top 10 team earlier this year. They are now 7-3. They're now 7-3. The game on CBS, they travel to Alabama. Can they do it? Alabama needs to win out. They have pressure.
Roll Tide.
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Yeah. 20.5-point favorites right now. Alabama takes care of business. Arkansas had some good wins, but not sustainable in that conference for the Hogs. Yeah. Woo pig.
Yeah.
Moving to the Big Ten. What's first? Minnesota at Indiana. Can the Hoosiers pick up their first Big Ten win of the season?
No. They're bad.
They're really bad. Yeah.
Minnesota.
I think they can win. I don't think they're going to, though. Yeah, give me Minnesota as well. That line is 7. Minnesota by 7 is that line as we speak right now. Rutgers at Penn State with a win. Rutgers becomes bowl eligible. Do they get it in Happy Valley?
No. I'm going to take Penn State. I think they're going to be a little too much for Rutgers.
Yep. No line on this game, according to the ESPN app, but I will as well take Penn State. Man, Penn State has really they've let some games get away, haven't they?
Yeah. They're not as good as what people thought.
Yeah.
Myself included.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did it go wrong? Was it the Illinois game or was it before the Illinois game?
Iowa, right?
Was it Iowa that beat them? Yeah. Yeah. Because Clifford went out right before Illinois. Yeah. You're right. All right. We got a football game at Wrigley Field on Saturday. Purdue at Northwestern will be played at Wrigley. Boilermakers or Wildcats?
Remember when there was a football game at Busch Stadium?
I was there.
Me too.
I covered that game. Yeah.
That was a day. That was a day. That was certainly something.
Never do that again.
I'm going to take the Boilers. Yeah, they are the best team in that not upper echelon tier of the Big Ten, in my opinion. I think that there's, that 4 or 5 teams that are clearly better than them. And then there's that next tier. I think they're showing that they belong in that conversation. So I'm going to take Purdue.
Where's Iowa in that?
I don't know. I'm just making this up as I
go. Remember when Northwestern Illinois played at Wrigley Field?
I do.
Mikel the Shore
is that who that? Oh man,
yeah,
that was a while
ran
ago.
for like 330 yards.
Yeah, that was a day.
That was crazy. Both teams had to go the same direction
Mikel
because there
Shore.
wasn't enough room in the end zones. That was
They
crazy.
got that fixed now, I think.
Do they?
They figured out how to do it this time.
Okay. Yeah, give me Purdue as well. Probably pretty big. They put 31 up on Ohio State. So Nebraska at Wisconsin, 3-7 versus 7-3, 3:30 on ABC.
Have we picked different once today?
Yeah, I took Clemson.
Just one time we've picked. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I guess we'll keep that going. Wisconsin.
Yeah. Same. I think every game in the Big Ten has no, maybe not. This one's only 9.5. I thought most of these would be 10-point spreads, but this one's 9.5. Give me Wisconsin as well. Nebraska just wants this season to end, I think. Not necessarily going to say they're mailing it in, but I think they just want this season to be over. Michigan at Maryland. Terps also 5-5. A win gets them bowl eligibility. Do it.
A win would get them bowl eligibility. I'm not picking them to get bowl eligible this week.
Yeah.
No. Let's say Michigan.
Same. Michigan for me as well. I thought Michigan was legit. I've said it on here multiple times, but they haven't played anybody other than Michigan State. No. Their schedule is awful. Yeah. Speaking of Michigan State at Ohio State, the big one in the nation, probably not just the Big Ten. This is probably the best game in the country this week. Top 10 teams, both 9-1. Can Sparty go into the horseshoe and keep their playoff hopes alive and beat the Buckeyes?
No, I don't think so. I'm not 100% convinced that Ohio State will run the table the rest of the year. I do think they have a pretty rough schedule, because they do have to go to Michigan next week, and I do think they're the better team. But just something about this tells me that it may not happen. But I'm going to take them to win this game. I think they beat Michigan State at home.
I do too. I think Ohio State wins this one. 2 top 10 teams, and the spread is 19 points.
Yeah.
That is crazy in favor of Ohio State for those wondering. But yeah, give us both the Buckeyes. And finally, Illinois at Iowa, 4-6 versus 8-2. Illinois without their head coach. Take note of this. This is a 2:00 Eastern time kickoff on FS1. Not your typical noon or 3:30. This is a 2:00 start on FS1. Don't know why, but you should know that if you care about Illinois football. Who you got?
I wonder what that is about. Ugh. Iowa. I'm gonna take Iowa. I do think they're the better team. Illinois has shown signs of not greatness, but Illinois has shown signs of moments that they can compete with some, less than stellar teams in the Big Ten. I think Iowa could fit in that category. However, I don't see it happening. I think Iowa wins.
Yeah. I mean, Illinois is winning these games with defense. Obviously holding these teams held Minnesota to 6. Yeah. They held Penn State to 13, 14 going into overtime. And Iowa doesn't have a great offense. Very similar to Minnesota, I think. I think Minnesota might be a little more potent. The Bielema factor is swaying me a little bit. If he was coaching, I would probably pick Illinois no-brainer. Like, not think about it.
Really?
Since he's not, I don't know. Just to give us a couple different picks, I'll take Illinois in the upset. Likely not going to happen. Like, I'm not confident in this pick at all. But give me the Illini this week and Iowa City. There we go.
You got to make up your ground somewhere, my friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, may as well.
All right. Anything else college football?
No. Just waiting for that ranking to drop and for Notre Dame to be higher than Cincinnati. Just waiting for it.
All right, we got some MLB news. Season just ended not too long ago, and we already got some hot stove action, some moves in the offseason. Thor is heading to Hollywood.
Sort of.
Noah Syndergaard.
He's heading to Anaheim.
Noah Syndergaard has signed with the Angels. He's leaving the Big Apple, going to Hollywood. You tweeted it, and I thought it as soon as I saw it. Anything to get Mike Trout in the playoffs, man.
I've wanted to see that for a while. Mike Trout's been the best player in baseball for quite some time now, and he's just had a pretty bad team around him. They brought in Shohei Ohtani, who I don't know that will ever replicate the season he had last year.
Yeah.
But they've needed pitching help. Their pitching rotation has just been bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know how good Noah Syndergaard is. He's shown signs of greatness at times with the Mets, but he's certainly an upgrade over anything they have. So anything that they can do, it's a 1-year deal. But yeah, the Angels just need to they've invested into their offense. They brought in Anthony Rendon a couple of years ago, obviously the Ohtani situation. So they have pieces there, but they got to get pitching. So good for them. I think it's a win-win for all parties involved. I was texting one of my friends who's a big Mets fan. He seems to be happy. He likes Thor, likes Syndergaard. Just didn't really think that he was all he was cracked up to be. So hope it works out for him and for the Angels, because I would really like to see Mike Trout win a World Series.
Yeah, for sure. Also, Reed Detmers from Glenwood, the starting pitcher they drafted a couple years ago, got called up late last year. He's from Glenwood High School in Chatham, Illinois, just outside Springfield. Pitched here in Louisville. So I kind of got a rooting interest there. I actually got this week, we had our random minor league fantasy baseball draft, and I got the number 1 pick. And I also have since I got 5th last year, the first, so the top 4 pay, and then the 5th person automatically gets the number 1 overall pick. Like, even if you randomly got picked 6th, you also get an additional pick. I also got that. So I have the first overall pick and the number 1 pick in the draft for minor leaguers next year. So Reed Detmers is on my list. He's on my list to have in my minor league system. The only other big signing I could think of, Logan might have another, was Eduardo Rodriguez signed with the Tigers. A lot of talk of the Tigers being spenders this offseason. They're Carlos Correa has been talked about going to Detroit. So Tigers could be a player in the AL Central.
I think they'll add a bat. I don't know if it'll be Correa or not, but I think they will add a bat. And if that's the case, I mean, as you said, they're gonna contend. That division could be tough here in another couple of years. I mean, the White Sox are already there. The Twins seem to have given up on their run, but the Tigers and the Royals. I mean, I think they're both on the up and up. And if the Guardians, came to a settlement with the roller derby team, like I mentioned the other day. If they can get their pitching figured out and get another bat or two, I think they could be dangerous. But that was a good get for the Tigers as well. I think Rodriguez really kind of fits to what they're doing. They have a pretty solid rotation of mostly younger guys, so I think he fits that pretty well. I think those are the 2 biggest moves at this point. There's been a couple ones. We talked about the Wade Miley thing. Andrew Heaney signed with the Dodgers. But to this point, that's it. From what Jeff Passan reported a couple of days ago, it sounds like some of these guys might move quicker than we thought. I think the original expectation was that a lot of these guys would wait until after the CBA was resolved, but I've heard names like Corey Seager and a couple others that might move quickly. So have to see what happens. I am naively optimistic as a Cubs fan that they're gonna spend some money and bring somebody in. We'll just have to see what happens. I'm sure you feel the same way about your Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, they've been, and I just don't see them doing it. But everyone seems to think that they're going to talk to these big name shortstops, at least engage their interest. A lot of people have not. I don't want to say a lot. I've seen multiple people say that they could sweep in and get Trevor Story. because he's probably going to be the cheapest of the. I guess Baez will probably be cheaper. I would say Baez will probably be cheaper, but they're saying Story might be a value pickup for the Cardinals. I just don't see him doing it. The whole reuniting him with Arenado thing. But then just last week, Mozeliak was talking about Paul DeYoung, about how you can't just look at the stats, and people are talking bad about him because he's had one bad year, and you got to look at past performance. And so that makes you think that he's not in the market for a shortstop. Obviously they've been linked to Max Scherzer, St. Louis native. I just don't see it. That's a lot of money. And they did just free up $38 million by declining Matt Carpenter's contract and Carlos Martinez's contract. But you're paying Waino, what was it, 20? I think they're paying Waino 20, where he was making 8 last year. So there's 12 of it right there. I just don't see it. I would love for them to go get Story. Outfield is set, but maybe a couple bullpen arms and a starting pitcher. They've talked to Steven Matz, someone like that. Middle of the pack. I saw the Cubs link to Yusei Kikuchi.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple times as well. They need a lot of things. So they need more pitching. They need bats. The Cubs need a lot. They need everything.
Yep. Gabe Kapler just named NL Manager of the Year. No surprise there. He beats out now fired Cardinals manager Mike Schilt. Who was the other one?
LOL.
Who was the other manager?
I don't remember.
It wasn't Snicker. He got snubbed.
I don't remember.
Who was I don't remember who the other one was. I can't think of anything else baseball related. I feel like there was something, but now I'm forgetting it. I thought of it as you were talking.
Rookie of the Year. They announced Rookie of the Year last night.
Oh yeah,
Rosarena and
India.
Jonathan India. Yeah. Yep. Got Rookie of the Year from the American League and the National League, respectively.
In that same fantasy baseball league I was telling you about.
Yeah.
I had drafted Jonathan India like 3 years ago, and I dropped him last year because I wanted to pick someone else because India sucked, and then this happens. So
yeah, Rookie of the Year. It's
about where my luck in that league goes.
Do you want to talk about trading Patrick Mahomes, or?
We can. I think we haven't been going for very long, a little over an hour maybe. Yeah. So last week after Mahomes had a bad game, I forgot who they played.
3 or 4 straight bad games, but
yeah, he had 3 bad games. I was like, all right, he doesn't have the weapons. So I started shopping, not specifically shopping Mahomes, but trying to find another quarterback that I could like play the matchup with. Because I've had Mahomes in this league since he was drafted. And the only time I would ever have another quarterback on my roster is when he was on bye week. Because like, why would you need a backup quarterback for Patrick Mahomes? So I started shopping, and I finally just decided to swap Patrick Mahomes for Dak straight up, which in hindsight, not a terrible trade because Dak's going to put up numbers and he has weapons. But after seeing what happened on Sunday, I'm like, oh my God, why did I overthink this? Dak still got me 30 plus points. So I'm not, and I still won. So I'm not too upset, but in hindsight, probably shouldn't have done it. But
probably
we'll see. I'm in second in that league, 7-3. So
you live and you learn, Craig.
Got a loaded team. Wasn't going to keep Patty this year because we went down to only 2 keepers, and I've got Zeke and Mixon and DeAndre Hopkins, and Kyle Pitts, and someone else. I can't remember, but yeah, that was my fantasy week. Although I did go 4-0 in all of my leagues, so I'll
kudos.
Take that.
Congratulations.
Any movies? Any TV shows?
I did not get any movies this week. I'm really kind of getting behind. They did have Disney Plus Day last week. I don't know if you were caught up on that.
I don't know what that is.
So Disney Plus Day was the 2-year anniversary of the launch of Disney Plus.
Oh.
So they made a big day of it. They had dropped a bunch of movies onto the service. And they had teased it that they were going to have a bunch of announcements programs, movies, and shows coming to the service, and they did announce some things. They announced several Marvel things, a lot of which we already knew, but they gave us more confirmation that some of these shows are coming. They did not, however, give us much Star Wars stuff. So there seems to be some concern as to why that is, because at their big investor day thing a year, however long ago, they announced all these Star Wars projects that were going to be going to Disney Plus. And now they had their big Disney Plus day and we heard nothing other than they gave us a sizzle reel for the Obi-Wan show we know is coming. So there seems to be some worry about that. But they gave us quite a bit of, Marvel shows that were coming. We already know we get Hawkeyes later this year. They confirmed we're getting She-Hulk, and we saw some clips from the Moon Knight show, which is going to star Oscar Isaac. Cool stuff came from that. They had some Pixar stuff too. It was kind of overblown. I think people were expecting more like the Investor Day thing they had last year. This is not that at all. But yeah, so movies, I did not get to any new movies this week. I rewatched, because Allison hadn't seen Shang-Chi yet. So we rewatched that over the weekend on the new IMAX enhanced version that's on Disney Plus. So you can get the full screen version, which is, it's kind of cool, but it's kind of whatever. So yeah, that was really all the movies I watched this weekend. I have a lot to get to, and it's stressing me out. I was gonna
say, there's like Red Notice came out.
I haven't watched Red Notice yet.
Has a great cast and has me kind of interested. The new Spider-Man trailer is dropping any moment now.
I think the event is supposed to start at 8 p.m., which is still about an hour from now. So hopefully within the next hour and a half, we have a trailer.
And then I just watched one. We talked about this before we went on air. Don't Look Up.
Yep.
With a phenomenal cast. So there's like movies coming out now that
they're coming.
Okay.
They're coming.
I didn't realize Spider-Man was coming this soon.
Spider-Man the movie will be in December. The trailer is supposed to be coming tonight. And there seems to be they said that there's going to be special surprises, which people are assuming that means they're going to finally announce that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to be in the movie, although they both keep denying it. Trying to see what else. I got Tick Tick Boom's coming up. Doc Ock,
Green Goblin, and Electro are all in it.
Yep, and I believe Sandman's supposed to be in it too, and people keep theorizing that Venom's going to cross over into this.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot. That's coming up. Ghostbusters comes out this weekend. Gonna go see that on Thursday.
Okay, question. You might know the answer to this. Every time the commercial comes out, Christy asks me the same question, and I wonder the same thing, and I don't know the answer. Why did they not release Ghostbusters like 2 weeks before Halloween? Like, why is it not a Halloween release?
I don't know.
That makes too much sense.
There was just a bunch of release shuffling going on. Because of the pandemic. This was another movie that was supposed to come out last year. Okay. A lot of it just has to do with the particular studios and what else they have coming out that particular time and what other movies are coming out that particular time. So I'd have to look at the schedule again, but Dune came out around that time and Halloween was coming out around that time. So if these other big blockbuster movies are coming out, they don't always want to compete against them.
Gotcha.
But yes, you're right. Ghostbusters is a movie that should have come out around Halloween. I agree with that. As to why the reasoning is, I don't know, but it probably has something to do with what else was on the schedule for that. But yeah, that's this weekend. King Richard, the movie with Will Smith about Venus and Serena Williams. The word is that he's going to be Oscar nominated for that. So excited for that one. Disney has an animated one coming out called Encanto later this month. West Side Story. Steven Spielberg is redoing West Side Story in December. Spider-Man we talked about. The Matrix. The fourth Matrix movie's coming out later this year. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on, and it's giving me anxiety just thinking about it. How behind I am. I have a whole spreadsheet, and there are so many movies I haven't watched yet. It's stressing me out. Anyway,
Kevin Cash, AL Manager of the Year, just came out.
No shock.
I don't even remember.
I looked up. Yeah. I looked up who you're referring to. Who the bad one was. I had to look it up. And okay, that's fair.
They don't need to be on anyone's television set and they
No.
never did. So
Nope.
I was very upset with that. The person that was unmasked this week is a talent, is a voice. It's a great voice. I wouldn't call her a one-hit wonder, but I mean, one of her songs is forever tied to Terry Crews. So, wait, no, that's not right. I was thinking Vanessa Carlton, the da-da-da-da-da-da. White from White Chicks.
Yeah. Is that who it was?
No.
Oh,
no.
So who was it?
Do you want me to tell you?
I mean, I don't know if the people want you to
Definitely
tell.
not a one-hit wonder.
I'll look it up.
Okay. She was big in the late 2000s.
Carly Rae Jepsen.
No. Are you looking it up right now?
That was my first guess. I will look it up right now. I will get there.
We did not guess it right. I will tell you that.
Two shakes of a lamb's tail.
We had guessed, I think Pink was our guess. It was not Pink. Great content right here.
I'm not as quick about this. I mean, this should be a lot quicker for me to
just look up. Yeah,
I got it. Yeah,
just great voice. Some great tunes, great songs.
Yeah,
they're down to 6 now.
Definitely not a one.
Not a one-hit wonder. No, I was thinking of someone different.
She's got some jams.
Thinking of someone different. Survivor, again, same thing as last week. Too much going on. They're trying to do too much, and it's causing too much chaos and hard to follow. But yeah, Yellowstone is where I think we'll probably watch episode 2 of that tonight. Season premiere was fantastic. It's fantastic. So
that's great.
All right, you got anything else? That's a pretty decently timed show. So we can get out of here and stop taking up people's time with our rantings and ramblings about random TV stuff. So
I love it.
2 Illinois games this week, Monday and Tuesday. Not sure when we will record. Tuesday might be a late night, but we'll figure something out and get you an episode next week.
Next week's Thanksgiving, isn't it? Oh man, we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right. We'll get you another episode next week at some point. Don't know when. But as always, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with all your friends. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
37 days till Christmas. Bye.